Today, this is the final hour of our Tuesday edition here on eNCA DSTV Channel 43 with me, Dan Moyane. A very good afternoon. We begin here. The Hawks are investigating extortion allegations against several ANC MPs. Suspended Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane made the disclosure during a press briefing earlier today. She has made damning bribery allegations against the ANC's chief whip, Heidi Giokos, Richard Dyantyi, the person who's been chairing the Section 194 inquiry in Parliament, and the late Tina Joemat-Pettersson. Heidi was at that briefing, and she's back with us now. She's with me in studio. Heidi, good afternoon. What a day. I mean, just listening and watching that, one's trying to make sense of it all. And the allegation, according to Mkhwebane, is that Tina Joemat-Pettersson was seeking a bribe of about 600,000 rand for her and two other MPs, allegedly, to make the impeachment inquiry in Parliament into the fitness to hold office or not of the suspended public protector go away.
What a day indeed. I think we were all taken aback because we've been seeing these allegations and these screen grabs of conversations between the late Tina Joemat-Pettersson together with the husband of Busisiwe Mkhwebane, which is David Skosana. We do know that there was a WhatsApp conversation that happened. So it all started allegedly by the fact that Tina Joemat-Pettersson was sitting in the Section 194 inquiry. She had always been appearing virtually, and one day, according to the events that played out by Busisiwe Mkhwebane's husband and the suspended public protector herself, that one day she appeared in person at the inquiry. She then asked for the number of Busisiwe Mkhwebane's husband. And this is when the WhatsApp conversation started. They started exactly on the 16th of March. We do know that this conversation started mid-March. We know that there were two meetings that were held between Mr. Skosana as well as the late Tina Joemat-Pettersson. And allegedly it was about an hour long. Both of these meetings were about an hour. The messages clearly speak about possible bribery to do away with this Section 194 inquiry. We do know that this inquiry has been happening since last year sometime. And the audio recordings, which I think are so damning, we've been seeing these WhatsApp conversations, but the suspended public protector says, well, I've got video recordings, and that was played today in that almost 2-hour media briefing, where you can clearly hear the late Tina Joemat-Pettersson engaging with Mr. Skosana, speaking about how there are certain plans to push the inquiry into a certain way, to get the public protector suspended or rather impeached, for there to be certain monies paid to the 3 MPs, which include the chair of the inquiry, which is Richard Dyantyi, as well as ANC's chief whip, as you mentioned, Heidi Giokos. So these are all allegations that were made, but the recordings explicitly show, and you can hear that there was an obvious conversation about some sort of bribery and corruption that was happening, but it's only between the husband of the suspended public protector and Tina. There's no other recording at this moment. We're not sure.
There's no other voice in there.
No, it's just of those two. But I want us to listen to what the suspended public protector had to say about these recordings and what's actually transpired in the last 2 months or so.
The courts are with Ramaphosa. The courts are with Ramaphosa. These are the chilling last words uttered and contained in the voice recording of some of the remarks made by the late Honorable Tina Joemat-Pettersson in one of her 2 physical meetings with my husband at the Ocean Basket restaurant in OR Tambo International Airport. Joemat-Pettersson invited my husband to 2 separate physical meetings, both held at the Ocean Basket restaurant at OR Tambo International Airport. At this meeting, she solicited a bribe of approximately 600,000 for herself, Mr. Richard Dyantyi, who is the chairperson of the inquiry, and Ms. Heidi Giokos, who is the chief whip of the ruling ANC. My husband pretended to play along and even negotiated the price to be set at 150,000 instead of 200,000 each. He actually intended to trap the culprits, and he proceeded to record the 2 meetings on his phone. Unfortunately, the deal went sour before the conditions were met. I'm in possession of both the audio recordings of the 2 airport meetings as well as more than 90 WhatsApp messages exchanged between my husband and Mrs. Jumat Peterson for the period between the middle and the end of March 2023. These items of evidence have been shared with the police, and the Hawks are.
Well, there you have it. She's insisting that, certain things were said by the late Tina Jumat Peterson. Now, she also, and I found this very odd, Heidi, she then went on to make a list of demands.
Yes.
And basically trying to mobilize people to support her.
Yes, and number 1 on that list is the fact that she wants the chair of the Section 194 inquiry to recuse himself. And we do know that this is not the first time that she's asked him to recuse himself. The Public Protector has time and time again expressed how this process has been unfair towards her, how the allegations leveled against her are not substantiated by proof, how the fact that proof and evidence, and the fact that this is nothing but a target on her because she has investigated, if I can call, institutions and matters that nobody else wants to touch or speak about. For example, the Phala Phala matter that the president is facing, as well as issues around the Reserve Bank, the CR17 statements. So the Public Protector has made it very clear that she wants the chair to recuse himself. But the chair has made it clear as well, Bradan, that he's not going to recuse himself. And I think that is critical in all of this, because the question was posed to the...
In fact, this afternoon, I think Mr. Dyantyi, through Parliament, they issued a statement,
yes,
where he's restating again that the particular process being followed will remain in place. He's going nowhere.
Yes, and he says until there's a formal process for him to recuse himself, he says, or for him to be removed as the chair, he's not going to do that. And they're also pressed for time in terms of finalizing this inquiry. But it's interesting, though, because some of the allegations that have been made in the recordings, for example, before we listen to what the suspended Public Protector had to say, part of the statement that Advocate Mkhwebane released today speaks about how Tina Jumat Peterson was going to explain to the husband of Busisiwe Mkhwebane, Mr. Skosana, that they are going to change the way the inquiry is going to work. Mr. Dyantyi is going to be less hostile. He's going to ask for more oral, no more oral evidence, but rather written submissions from the suspended Public Protector. And when the questions were asked to the Public Protector, do you feel as though he was less hostile towards you? She indicated, yes, he started being less hostile towards me. I was given more opportunity to speak. The questions started changing. And now the inquiry is in a process at the moment where it is just written submissions that are needed from the Public Protector. So there's a lot that's been thrown out there, but I want us to listen to what some of the demands are from the suspended Public Protector.
I call upon all freedom-loving South Africans to rise in one voice and join me in demanding that, 1, Mr. Dyantyi be removed from chairing the Section 194 committee, pending the outcomes of the criminal and the parliamentary investigations, that the Section 194 committee be terminated with immediate effect, as it is now irretrievably and incurably tainted, poisoned, and clearly driven by a predetermined outcome. The inquiry is therefore a deliberate waste of taxpayers' money, which can never withstand any proper legal scrutiny. Number 2, the Speaker to be suspended for exposing a whistleblower and refusing to arrange a meeting involving allegations of corruption as requested by the Public Protector. 3, the President to be called to account for abuse of power in implementing a clearly illegal suspension. 4, the Deputy Public Protector must release the Phala Phala report by the 7th of July, which will be 1 year after the statutory 30-day deadline set in the Executive Members' Ethics Act. The matter is not at all complicated and could have been finalized within 3 months, the worst. 5, the Judicial Service Commission to expedite the complaint into the undue delay of a judgment involving a serious matter of the illegal suspension of the Public Protector of South Africa by the head of state to cover up his Phala Phala alleged criminality. and launch an investigation into allegations of systemic bias and the selective leaking of a constitutional court judgment concerning the public protector.
Those were some of the demands by the suspended public protector at that media briefing there. I'm just wondering, Heidi, as we conclude, I wonder what will be next here. We said earlier that the chairperson of the Section 194 inquiry, the impeachment inquiry in Parliament, Richard Dyantyi, has issued a statement to the Parliament to say their process will continue. He was not going to go anywhere unless and or until there's a process that is done properly, and that might find him having done something wrong. But for now, he's there. I don't know what this means next, and especially because Ms. Tina Joemat-Pettersson is dead, and she can't answer for herself. And while there's this political issues, there's this parliamentary processes, the family is currently still grieving. I mean, and there's this, that's in the news.
You know, there's a saying, Bradan, there are three sides to every story. It's your version, my version, and the truth. And unfortunately, we now do not know what the version is of the late Tina Joemat-Pettersson, because she's not here to speak for herself. She's not here to explain what exactly happened. As much as those recordings are there to give her a part of her version, we don't actually know what's going on here. And it's going to be imperative to see how the Section 194 inquiry proceeds, if it does at all, if there's going to be any sort of intervention about a possible recusal, or how this is going to proceed given the allegations levelled against Mr. Dyantyi. But before we go, I just want to speak about this one WhatsApp message that I think
is between Mr. Skhosana, the husband
yes.
of the suspended protector, and the late
yes. There were 90 WhatsApp messages exchanged between the two of them, as well as 2 meetings. The one message sent by Tina Joemat-Pettersson, and this was after Mr. Skhosana indicated that there will be an urgent press briefing because they need to expose the allegations of bribery and corruption. Tina Joemat-Pettersson says, "This is sad." And then she says, "I'm very sorry that you want to destroy me because of your anger." And then Mr. Skhosana says, "I won't destroy you." She says, "Yes, you will."
Okay, thank you very much, Heidi. In that haze, as you said, in the middle of all of this, the truth lies in somewhere there. Hopefully, the country will get to know it. And of course, the family. Let's not forget the Joemat-Pettersson family who are currently grieving.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you very much. Heidi Giokos, just wrapping up for us what happened earlier today. I'm sure there's going to be more analysis, more discussion around what came out at that media briefing earlier by the suspended public protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane.